Thank you, Matt. In today's 5-Minute Gardener, when most people think of gardening, well, they think of the outdoors, but planting in your home can also add that special something that you've been looking for. Our 5-Minute Gardener, Debbie Mounts from Harlow Gardens, has some suggestions.
All right, good afternoon. It's Debbie Mounts, the 5-Minute Gardener, with you again. Now, all of us have those spaces in our house which are kind of dark, but they could really use some livening up with a nice house plant. But a lot of your house plants really need a lot of light. There is a bunch of house plants, in these on the table, as a matter of fact, that will take and thrive with a low light setting. I have a couple of them that are trailing and then a couple of them that are more bush-like. So let me talk about those for you. This first one here is one that's been around forever. This is one that everybody's grandma had in their house. You saw it in their kitchen or wherever. This one is commonly called heartleaf philodendron. It's great. It'll get really long and viney. You can cut it back and keep it thick if you like, but it does a really good job in those low light settings for you. There's another one here. This is another really old-fashioned one. This is called a Hoya. Now the Hoyas come in both solid green, and then there's one that's variegated, which means it has a little light coloring on the leaf. And this one is another one that's been around for a long time. It actually blooms after a time. It gets a flower that comes out. It's a little cluster of these star-like flowers. They kind of look almost plastic. It's really fascinating when they bloom. This one will do great for you too, also a trailing one. Okay, then we got a couple more here. Now this one is called an aglaonema, or commonly called a Chinese evergreen. There's lots of different varieties of this guy. All of them will support low light. They're kind of slow growing. What happens with the things in a low light setting, with the plants in a low light setting, is they'll start to get leggy and thin. But because this guy is so slow growing, it doesn't do that so quickly. So it's going to look good, I think, for a little bit longer period than some of your other lower light plants will do for you. Here's the last one. Now this one is called a cast iron plant, or aspidistra. This is one of those plants that it is just darn tough to kill. It can take really deep shade outside, or it can take a low light setting inside. It's a great one. And then last but not least, I'm going to show you really quickly. This is the fertilizer my mother used for 40 years inside the house, and it works really well on your plants. Just use it regularly. Thanks so much.
I use that on my, not that one, but a specific formula for African violets, and they're gorgeous.
Oh, that fertilizer has been around forever. Just forever.
It does its job. Yeah. And you brought some more.
I brought some more. I brought one. I love this plant because it's commonly called mother-in-law's tongue, or the other name for it is snake plant. I mean, that whole thing kind of sets it up, you know. And every time I look at it, I always remember that old song from the 50s, you know, mother-in-law. Oh, every time I look at it, I do that. But these guys are great because they are also, now this is an odd one,
yes,
but these are also very low light plants. And the cool thing about these guys too is they're very low water use. They really want to dry out between waterings. So you can have them in a spot where, and even if you neglect them, they're just very forgiving.
Wow.
They'll say, it's okay. Just give me a drink once in a while.
And that's
I'll
roughly
be okay.
the same plant, only maybe just a little variation, huh?
These are the same plants. These are all the same plants. There's a couple more down here on the floor in front of me, and they're all in the same family. This is a very odd one. This is a cylindrical one.
So many people are afraid of having plants indoors just because, you know, they're afraid that the light level's not going to be enough, or the temperature, you know, it's going to be too cold or too hot.
Right.
You shouldn't be afraid of those things. There are plants that you can buy. Just ask your nursery.
Yeah, and most of your indoor plants, if it's sold to you as an indoor plant, the temperature that is comfortable to you will be comfortable for the plant. That's why they live indoors. A lot of these indoor plants are tropical plants, so they came from an area of the world that had moderate temperatures all year long. What we try to do and recreate in our homes all the time. So if you're comfortable in the house, the plants are most likely going to be comfortable in your house. So
the ficus tree, those are so fun. They look pretty indoors and they look nice out in the patio, but boy, there's a secret to those which we don't have time to discuss now, but maybe a future we could discuss that, because Mine, the leaves keep falling off.
Oh, I was just going to say, does it throw all its leaves at you when you walk by? It just kind of throws them at you, does
Yeah, like
it?
it's mad at me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it does get mad at people when they do certain things.
We'll talk about that
All right.
in a future
All right. That's a
segment.
deal.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All righty.